Welcome to Drive Wise Hub. Glad you're here. There are so many things on the road. Many of you know that there's lots of crazy drivers out there. I don't know what it is about summertime, but man, people are driving crazy. I think it's overconfidence a lot of times. So in this video, you'll see as many things as I can to show you what does a driver ed instructor want you to look for? Why are they having you look for it? Why do you got to be so careful? How do the driver ed instructors point out things, and what are they looking for? So watch closely, watch for the checks, and learn as much as you can. Enter the intersection, look left, then turn left. Most people look down at that line, that's the mistake. I gotta change lanes, middle mirror, right mirror, blind spot check, move over. Okay, and then this is where targeting comes into play. It's not just for going straight. Targeting is look to the end part of your lane, then turn left. So that's part of look left, turn left, which is a strange technique to get used to, but it makes you more accurate at the end because your brain sees more information and you end up steering more accurately because of that information. So then check rear cover brake, start braking again. Targeting is also searching, looking to the furthest part of your lane up ahead and finding whatever you can find early. So an example here would be the red lights are information that helps with timing and just trying to get a green light as you go through here. The nice thing about one-way areas is the fact that they time the speed limit, they time the lights for the speed limit. So when the light turns green here, do a 2-second search, make sure it's clear, 1001, 1002, and then start to enter. We now know it's clear, but if I don't accelerate hard here, I get a green light several seconds before it turns green, which is a great thing because people run red lights a lot, and so if you allow that light to turn green a few seconds before you get there, that's just going to keep you from crashing. So that's pretty much the logic behind that. Don't arrive directly on the green. Then you got speed limit 20 here because of the environment. You got a lot of things to check, like railroad here. So right side look straight, left side look straight. That's an organized search pattern, so you don't swerve on the road. So organized search pattern just means like if you check something, look straight again. If you check something, look straight again. If you check something, look straight again. And again, that's looking to your target area where the end of your lane is leading to. That way you're gathering as much information as you can. Unmarked crosswalk here. Okay, Garmin, say video. Mirror forward, side mirror forward, blind spot check, move over. Light is only facing one direction, so that's a one-way street. Blind spot check, no bike, look left, turn left, and keep going. Then you got speed limit 25, green light, check rear after a turn for good habit. That way if somebody's tailing me, I know how much I need to accelerate, or if any. 1001, 1002, that's point of no return, just getting used to identifying that point where you go through the light and getting used to that. So notice all these things are automatic, it just happens. So 1001, 1002, I checked the intersection and called that point of no return. Then you got a unmarked crosswalk coming soon up before the light, and so just getting used to checking those constantly is probably one of the hardest skills as an instructor or a student. So you have to constantly switch from one task to another. At the light turn left, lights are facing both directions. That's a two-way street, also known in the blind spot. Look left, turn left. That's a very weird skill to get used to, but once you get good at it, you'll notice how accurate you are. Okay, Garmin, save video. Save video. And then speed limit 25, crosswalks here. Actually just passed another one. That one's unmarked, hard to see that one unless you have a good eye for it. Then as we approach this, we're seeing that the sign says one way, check rear cover brake, start braking. This is the lane that turns left. So I don't have to change lanes in that scenario. I don't have to check for anything. We already landed in the lane that does turn left. Okay, and then in Oregon, you're actually allowed to turn left on red onto one-way streets, of course, after stopping. The reason why Oregon allows you to do that is because you're required to go to that very first lane as you turn. So that's the logic behind that is if it's clear, like I'm seeing now, blind spot, nobody there, I can now turn left on red after stopping onto the one-way street, but never on a two-way, only onto one-way. Speed limit 20, got to change lanes, middle mirror, right mirror, blind spot check. So there's some techniques that you can use. Notice how quickly things move along. So the level you're trying to get to is being able to know what to look for and exactly where to look for it. You're gonna make it through the light, pedestrian wants to cross, but not at a crosswalk, so I'm not required to yield to that. Again, let's turn right. the light, middle mirror, right mirror, blind spot check, and then move over. Another sharp turn, check rear cover brake, start braking, search, blind spot check, looks pretty good, look right, then turn right. And so there's all the things that happens in an instructor brain as you start to drive, and that's the level you want to get to. Check rear cover brake, start braking again. And so something else that I want to point out is, like, sometimes you can signal before streets that you're not turning on. So, like, the reason being is I'm in the right lane. I cannot turn left into that street. So I can actually signal before the street, and the people behind me are not going to think I'm turning. They're going to know that I'm trying to change lanes. I do have to wait till I pass the intersection and then move over. And you'll also notice that I check my middle mirror even after I've started to move over. That's just for good habit. Make sure no one's there, just in case I did miss anything. So you'll also notice that everything is always quick checks. I'm always looking back to straight as I drive. Speed limit 20, road work ahead, unmarked crosswalk coming soon, going back to the right lane. I was just showing that this is the patterns for changing lanes in general. So we've got search pattern in there, stopping points, turning points, road closed. This one goes straight. This is a weird scenario. It says road closed, but that one's closed. So this one I'm allowed to drive through. I'm going to use a reduced speed just because it's a road closed scenario, and I have to travel through a parking lane. So I'm not going to go full 30 miles per hour through here, just because there could be something behind those vehicles that I'm not seeing. If something steps out, I need to be able to stop. There are no escape routes at this point. So I'm just going to cruise through this, cover the brake, making sure there's nothing at the intersection. Now I can accelerate to 30 because I now have a more clear view of what I'm seeing. There's a possibility for something to be behind these vehicles, so I'm just mentally prepared for it. No one in that driver door there, so that was fine. And I'm just looking for information. What's going to pop out? What's not? Then there's like, okay, when do I look all the way down a road, or when do I check it early? Like here, I would check this early because they have stop signs. Me turning my head and looking down that road does me no good at all. So when you're checking intersections that you don't have to stop at, you should always check them early. Make sure no one's entering, make sure no one's trying to cross, and that's going to give you the information that you need to manage that successfully. Here's another example of signaling before a street I'm not turning on. I'm just trying to change lanes, and then blind spot check and move over. Continuing to go straight, so red light, no gas at all, check rear, cover the brake, start using 5% right about now. Okay, Garmin, save video. And so that's the general technique. I'm using very, very little brake. It should take me about 10 seconds to stop, and notice I'm barely pushing. The car's moving real slow at the very end, and that's the time that it should take you to stop. If you only left yourself 2 seconds to stop, it means it's rough, and so give yourself plenty of time to come to that complete stop. The more time you take, the better the stop is. While I sit at the red light, I like to monitor the rear zone just in case someone comes from the rear. You have no idea until you have 2 cars behind you. Someone could just come up from behind you and hit you. Usually they're on a cell phone. If somebody is gonna hit you, usually your first instinct should be honk your horn, because if they're distracted and you honk your horn, they're more likely to see you and try and stop. The other thing that you should be thinking about is, what if somebody does hit me from the near? Which way would I go? Most cases you're going to choose right, because if you go and choose left, you're going to hit oncoming, and then that's forces going at each other. So that's the habit you want to think of, is most times you're going to choose right, unless there's like a pedestrian or a bike there. Then don't choose right. It would be far better to hit a vehicle than a person or a bike. Speed limit 30 while I'm talking about this. Car behind me is silver. Just good mental notes, getting used to checking all these things and knowing your distances. Another unmarked crosswalk. Again, on the left side you would not yield, on the right side you would. And I'm not seeing a whole lot of good examples of pedestrian crosswalk rules today, but this is generally the technique that we're going for. Notice that I always keep searching for things. It's never a moment of just driving, which is why they say that conversation and talking with whoever you're with distracts you from the actual task of driving pedestrian on the left, is true, because a lot of times if you have a passenger, you're limiting yourself to just, the what's directly in front of you. Whereas if you're really focused on driving, you end up catching a whole lot more than what is expected. So that's why, as a new teen driver, 16 to 18-year-olds here in Oregon, you're not allowed to have friends with you in your first 6 months of driving. It has dramatically reduced the amount of crashes that teens get in, and it shows. So the statistics are there. So there's some good advice for just general driving.